You're tuned in to Ask the Good Doctor, live each and every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, and 10 a.m. Pacific. Dr. DrBrookshire is here to answer your questions live.
Hello, it's Wellness Wednesday, and I'm Dr. DrBrookshire. Welcome to Ask the Good Doctor. I am here to help you attain, maintain, and reclaim your perfect health. Please join me on Instagram at Ask the Good Doc, and Facebook at Ask the Good Doctor as well. Also, join me on Twitter at Ask the Good Doc. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you have not, please comment and subscribe. Click the little button down below. And don't forget to share this vital, life-saving information. Well, grab your Good Doctor notebooks. If you don't have one, may I invite you right now to get a Good Doctor notebook because class is in session. I am here to share with you today another very personal testimony. It is about what happened to me on December 30th, 2021. As I was getting ready to receive my mother to live with us, I was doing a lot of moving things around, packing boxes, moving books, moving to my basement studio, and I must have lifted something that was too heavy. Well, right in the center of my chest, I got a stabbing pain, and it was a pretty excruciating pain. And then I said, well, let me sit down. I drank water, and I continued what I was doing, moving things about. Well, then the pain got worse. I said, okay. So I didn't say anything to anybody. But I did go to my room, close the door, and I took several deep breaths. Just several deep breaths. I knew that I was under a great deal of stress, and I was straining myself physically also trying to get everything accomplished to receive my mother. So when this pain did not go away, I started thinking, am I having a heart attack? Okay. So now that my mother's under my care, I realized I was the only one who knew all of her information. So I grabbed a blank notebook and I started writing out all of the information for everything that my mother would need for someone else to know in order to care for her. I called one cousin and said, listen, I'm having chest pains. If this thing goes left, will you take mommy? And she said, of course. Do I need to come up there? I said, no, don't panic. So I write all of these things down. I write her phone number in the book. I put the book on the bed and just leave it there. So I have to take my daughter to meet her friends, and then I drive myself to the hospital. I know, crazy, but I did it. I drove myself to the hospital, which was literally 1 minute from where I dropped my daughter. She drove herself down to town, and then I drove myself to the doctor. I walk into the emergency room, and I say, I'm having chest pains. Well, that is like the magic word. If you are having chest pains, no matter what's happening in the hospital, it kind of all stops. I got plugged up to all kinds of machines. I got tested for all kinds of things. I mean, in record time. So as they're asking me my health history and they ask me my age, 59, and ask me what medications do I take? This is the reason I'm having this conversation with you today. Because I said I was 59 and I'm a Black woman, they were under the assumption automatically that I'm on medications. So as they drew blood and plugged up to listen to my heart and CT scanned me and all of those things, they found out that my blood work was perfection. And when the results came back, every time I moved from room to room, they kept saying, "How old are you? But your blood work, you have the blood pressure of a teenager, but you said you're having chest pains. What's your pain level? What's your pain level?" I had a pain level of about 7 when I walked into the hospital. And then the more I relaxed and the more I rested, it was diminishing. And they kept saying, "You're in pain, but your blood pressure is low." My blood pressure when I was in pain was 113/76. Okay? Just throwing that out there. And that's important for our conversation today. What I want to make note of is this. The hospital staff was marveling at the fact that my numbers were amazingly low for a 59-year-old Black woman. Not the norm at all, according to them. Now, I run in a circle with some people who take care of themselves very well, and we sort of have the same markers. So I'm thinking they need to meet some of the other people I know. I want you to be in that number. They were marveling so much over my numbers after taking my blood sugar, my blood pressure, my cholesterol, all of those things they were marveling at. And I'm just thinking, can somebody tell me if I've had a damn heart attack or not? Okay? Please. That was the first thing on my mind. My anxiety level was creeping up through the sky because I was getting sick of them being astonished that this Black woman had these kinds of numbers. Good news and bad news, because all I wanted to know was, have I had a heart attack here? Turns out I did not. But I did the right thing by going to get checked out. My copay is $150 for the emergency room because not much happens to me, so I chose that option when choosing my health insurance. And when the little lady came into the room, she said, "That'll be $150 copay." I was glad to give her my card. Thank you very much. The point that I'm making here today is, do you know your numbers? I know my numbers. I knew my numbers were going to be good, but I didn't know whether or not I was having a heart attack. And let me tell you something. I wasn't really willing to take the gamble. I was not willing to, "Oh, this will go away. Oh, I'm just under a lot of stress. Oh, I just moved a lot of boxes." No, I have too much life left to make the assumption that I wasn't having a heart attack. I didn't want it to be an assumption. I needed to rule out heart attack, period. And with all of the stress that I was under, who knew? It doesn't matter to me when you're under a great deal of stress, like I was, and when you are moving things around like I was, who's to say that that couldn't have been a heart attack? I was not going to roll the dice on that, and I would never want you to either. Annually, I want you to make sure that you get blood work, especially at the top of the year, after you have partied over here and partied over there and kicked your good habits and your new lifestyle to the wind. I would like to see you all ensure that you get blood work. You must go to the doctor at some point, or at least get your blood pressure taken all of the time. Everyone should own a blood pressure cuff in their home, yes? And especially since 1 in 2 Black women have high blood pressure medications, 1 in 2 Black women needs to have a blood pressure monitor in their home. I believe it is the kiss of death to take blood pressure medications and not know what your blood pressure numbers are. In fact, more people die from taking high blood pressure medications when their blood pressure is not high. That is a fact. You should not be doing that. Yet you need to know what your baseline is, and you need to make sure that you're documenting if you are taking your blood pressure medications. If you have no idea what your blood pressure is, shame on you. We, society in general, we are under more strain and more stress than ever before. As a result of that, we are experiencing stressors that can cause our blood pressure to soar in a moment's notice. All of the bad news that we receive, death after death, people with a negative diagnosis after negative diagnosis, or it may even be you. We cannot pretend that those things do not put strain on the body, because they do. They do. So you should know what your blood pressure is. You should know what your blood sugar is, your blood sugar level. If you are experiencing things like crashing to the point where, oh my gosh, I got to get something to eat, that you are that hungry and your blood sugar dips so low. People say that, well, I'm hypoglycemic. Hypoglycemic, not have blood sugar being too low. That is the meaning of being hypoglycemic. When your blood sugar is that low, that is just the opposite end of the spectrum of high blood sugar, and it is no better than having high blood sugar levels. So you need to manage and understand what that is. And if you need to reset your metabolism in that way, talk to me. I can help you get that done. But you should know what your blood sugar levels are, or what the range is. And you also should know that when you eat certain things, especially sugary items, or even drink alcohol, or even if you eat starchy foods or breads, some things that literally make your vision blurry, or if you're constantly thirsty, those are signals that you could be diabetic. Now, here's the term that I hate. These are critical health markers. They really are. But I can't stand the term pre-diabetes. Nope, I can't stand pre-diabetes. Either you're diabetic or you're not diabetic. All right? If you're not diabetic and they tell you that you're on the verge of becoming diabetic, don't call it pre-diabetes. How dare you speak something like that into my life if it's not true? People are not pre-diabetic. This is a new term that's going around. How about if you just tell someone, listen, if you don't watch it, you're a biscuit away from diabetes, okay? You're a candy bar away from diabetes. That will suffice, but don't say pre-diabetic and then throw people on medication. I hate that. What you have is an opportunity to watch it. What you have is an opportunity to turn around, walk in the direction, and do something else. What you have is an opportunity to make a lifestyle change for good, so that the next time you go to the doctor, they don't say to you that you're pre-diabetic, or that they don't say, I'm so glad you got rid of those biscuits, because you're nowhere near that marker. But these are critical health markers that we need to have watched and managed annually. Another thing we need to know, the other marker is cholesterol. Oh yes, the cholesterol. Now, they say that if your cholesterol is over 200, that is too high. They have the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol. Now, they say that the two numbers together comprise the numbers that give us the overall one. And if you're over 200, they say that it's too high. However, these days, they're now telling people that if they're in the 160 range to 200 range, that's still too high. And they're suggesting statin drugs for them. I find that really interesting, because I know for a fact that cholesterol is one of the easiest things to get rid of in the body. You can stop eating foods that have the cholesterol in them with the good fat and take cholesterol out of your diet. The statin drugs take cholesterol out of the diet very quickly, remove it from the body very quickly, but so will a handful of Triscuits or a bowl of oatmeal, okay? And that if you've been told that your cholesterol is really high, then you really should perhaps seek management, especially if you are a diabetic or if you have high blood pressure. You should watch that. The other critical health marker that I must make mention of is our body mass index, that good old BMI. What is your weight? We need to know for our age, our height, and our body frame how much we should weigh. Too much over that is considered obesity. And we need to stop being pushed into the range of being obese. Why? Because that is also a comorbidity that when things like viruses start floating in the air can cause a problem if you have a comorbidity. See, we want to reduce every comorbidity that could potentially be in our lives. We want to get rid of the comorbidities, period. We don't want to have anything. We want everything to be at baseline, or we want everything to be lower so that when you go to the doctor, they say things like, oh my goodness, how old are you? You're not on any medication, no medication. Like they did to me at the hospital. One doctor said, really? You're not on any medication? I said, no, sir, no medication. They cannot believe it. I want you to be in that number. All right. The other number that I want you to ensure that you know, write this down. You may never have heard this one before. It's called the CRP, C-reactive protein. That's the letter C-reactive protein. This number measures the inflammation in the body. And I will tell you that the lower that number is, the better. Ideally, we want it to be less than 1, but certainly less than 3. If it's over 3, we can start looking for there being trouble in the body. Inflammation is a source of most diseases. So we need to manage inflammation. Inflammation markers can also go up with day-to-day stressors, which is why maintaining an even keel and reducing everyday stressors is vitally important, because the inflammation starts to creep higher when the adrenal glands are in fight or flight mode. Yes. Additionally, when there's infection present in the body, when there's a diagnosis that hasn't yet been diagnosed, they can tell because that marker is inflamed. All right. When there's certain adjuncts are introduced into the body, that number also increases. The C-reactive protein. And you know what? Many doctors will not even test you for that. You must ask for that one. And you know what? It doesn't cost you anything extra. Not anything. My mother has been seeing this one doctor for years. And on this last blood work, I asked for a C-reactive protein test. And they finally gave it to her. And that test has never been given to my mother in the history that she has been seeing this particular doctor. Ever, never. And my mother's been going to her to probably some 40 years. Okay? Important. These are matters that you can take into your own hands. And once you know better, you can do better. The other level that we need to have checked is the good old vitamin D. That's right. Got to have the vitamin D checked. The normal range of vitamin D level is between 20 and 40. However, if you are a Black person, a darker skinned person, or even a light skinned Black person like me, we need to have our levels as close to 50 as possible. True story. My daughter, same color as me, when during quarantine and she wasn't getting out, holed up in her room, her vitamin D level had dropped down to 15. Yep, 15. Mine had dropped down to 20. And we got on a super duper high powered calcium that clinically moves the numbers. And hers went from 15 to 42 in 30 days. And mine went from 20 to 48 in 30 days. I'll have the link below on the vitamin D that we use that has K2. And it's important to have K2 in it because it ensures that the calcium transports through the body. Vitamin D must have K2, D3, all right? And this is the reason why darker skinned people need more vitamin D is because of the melanin. So even though I'm a lighter skinned, black person, I still have melanin in my skin. And with my vitamin D dipping down to 20, that proves that I needed more. Yes? Yes. All right. Now, ladies, let me talk to my ladies in the house right now. The next thing that we need to make sure is that we have a gynecological appointment annually. We need to check out what's going on down below, y'all. We need to check out the girls. We need a breast thermography. I'm saying thermography, thermography. The reason why I say thermography versus mammography is I believe that thermography is far more effective than mammography. And I'll tell you why. Because thermography is infrared and it can detect something going on in the breast, any anomaly in the breast, 6 to 8 years prior to a mammography even seeing it. And it is also non-invasive. It is a safe breast scan. It does not expose to radiation. And there is no squeezing involved. Yeah, I've had one mammography in my life and I'll never have another one. Just saying, that's me. When I discovered thermography, I'm all in. Don't you want to know 6 to 8 years before instead of finding out upon diagnosis, right after you've had a breast scan, a mammography? Oh, you're at stage 4 breast cancer. How many people do we know do that? And that happens to. And how many people do we know who last year when they had their mammography, it was nothing there. And then this year they're at stage 4. I always find that very interesting. And the next thing that we need to do is go to the dentist. Oh, yeah. How many people do we know who say that they're afraid of the dentist? They don't have dental care and they can't afford to go to the dentist. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can't afford not to go to the dentist. Your teeth are a direct correlation to what's happening internally. Every tooth, and we're going to do a show on this, every tooth is associated with an organ in the body, a body system as well. For instance, tooth number 19 is the most troubled tooth in the body, and tooth number 19 is directly associated to high blood pressure. It is a molar in the mouth, one of the third molars, and it is directly associated to high blood pressure. If there is something going on in that tooth, more people than not who have uncontrolled high blood pressure also have something going on with tooth 19. They've had a root canal, there's a cavity, there's a cap on it. Something is going on with that tooth. And they only rid themselves of the trouble when the tooth gets extracted. That's what happens. So you don't want to run around and get all of your teeth extracted. Let's fix the comorbidities. You'll have a healthier mouth also. The dentist is going to x-ray you, and you also need to have your teeth thoroughly cleaned. Twice a year is what's recommended, every 6 months. Now, if you cannot afford to have a dental plan where you pay monthly, they've got all of these centers like the Aspen Dental Center or the Smile Center. They have a lot of those in the New York City area where you can get your teeth cleaned for $50. I know you spend $50 on coca, maca, latte, grande, tale, whatever they are. I know you spend $50. You spend $50 eating out. It is worth the investment to have your teeth cared for. It's so important. And good oral hygiene needs to be maintained for a healthy body as well. Now, the next thing, need to get those eyes checked. The eyes have it. Need to see either an optometrist or an ophthalmologist, and they are two different things. And ophthalmologists are medical doctors who diagnose and treat all eye diseases, and they also perform eye surgery and prescribe glasses and contact lenses. Optometrists examine, diagnose, treat, and manage diseases. That's what they do. Now, if you don't wear glasses or contacts, the rule of thumb is visit one of these doctors once a year if you're in your 20s, twice a year when you're in your 30s, and as needed in your 40s and 50s. I'm in the category of not needing glasses, and I'm headed to my 60s, and I am scheduled to have an ophthalmology visit because I haven't had my eyes checked actually in quite some time. And I am looking forward to a good report because I don't have any other health issues. But that doesn't negate the fact that I shouldn't get that checked. And I'm going to. I have an appointment scheduled. I'll let you know all about it. Finally, in these times that we're in, more than ever, we need to have a check-in and a checkup on our mental health. Thereby, need a therapist. Ah, yeah. A spiritual therapist, not a girlfriend therapist, a professional therapist. Yes, where you go, sit down, lay down, however you do it. Lots of virtual visits these days, covered by most insurances. Out of pocket is not that expensive. And have a check-in. Our mental health needs it. We are enduring more than we ever have before. This is an important appointment to schedule and to keep. And it's up to you whether or not you feel like you need to continue, but at least once a year, have that check-in to see how you're doing mentally. And I think if we all did that, we could understand better whether or not our strong friends are in danger. We could also figure out whether or not we're in danger. Because how many of us know whether or not we're in danger or not? With all the things we've had to endure, with all the bad news, the sad news, are we okay? And that's the question that I'll leave you with today. Are we okay? Are you okay? Make sure you make an appointment to find out whether or not you are indeed okay. That's my time. I'd like to thank my team, IW supervising producer, Christopher Green, technical producer, and announcer, Chris Brown. That does it for me. To let your eyes shine, cut back on the wine, get good food fast, and go easy on the greasy. Until next time, I'm Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire, here to help you attain and maintain your perfect health. Let's do it again next week, okay? God bless you.